Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are starting right on time. Happy Monday, August the 12th. All right. So today we are going to be talking about dead equity. So not debt as in owing money to somebody, but debt as in rest in peace, in the ground, like past due. Okay. That dead equity. So before we go into that, I do need to do a big shout out. So last week we started getting submissions in for our book collaboration, and super excited. I started reading some of the chapters that came in from the different real estate investors, and super excited. We're going to be targeting the e-version of this book collaboration at the end of September. And so just throwing that out there that, yeah, it's going to be a really good book. So we're going to do the pre-sale of that in a couple of weeks. So I will definitely share that and broadcast that. So let's go into today's session of Money Matters. So I am Huong Lu. I am with Cash Property Inc. And today we're going to do an analysis on real estate. And debt equity is definitely something that we all face at some time as a real estate investor. So we will definitely go through that. Now, before you implement any of the stuff that I talk about today, please go and check with your lawyer, accountant, another real estate investor friend, and just make sure that it's right for you. You know, the outcomes of these sessions is really to help fellow accredited investors make sound decisions with their money. There's so many opportunities in real estate and so many opportunities to make a slightly wrong decision and lose a lot of the momentum that we've gained over the years. So let's get into this debt equity. So if you're sitting there going, Hung, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you know, there's equity, and usually equity is a good thing. So debt equity is money that is sitting in your investment property. Now, it doesn't just need to be your investment property. It could be your primary home as well. But usually when I'm talking about debt equity, I'm talking about investment properties because that's what I deal with. Okay. But keep in mind that this could also apply to your primary residence as well. This is money that is sitting there in equity form that for some reason you cannot get access to. You can't tap into it. Like you're over leveraged. The banks see you as having low income, or your debt service ratio is too high. What's another reason that you might not be able to get it? Like you don't have good income. The regulations are basically just saying, hey, you know what? We only lend to 60% loan to value, or we only lend to 80% loan to value. And so there's money sitting there that if you could tap into it, it would be amazing. So let's run through a calculation and I'll show you what exactly debt equity is and how this debt equity can grow on you without you really paying attention on it. Because that's one of the great things about real estate in a way, is that it's this equity growth. It's this compounding effect of building wealth. And that's the equity portion. So you want that equity, but at the same time, you want to be able to tap into it so that you could grow your portfolio. And so as an investor, if you can figure out a way to tap into that equity, you can use that equity, that money, to grow your portfolio, to invest into a business, another real estate venture, even stocks if you want to. There's so much stuff that you could do with that money, that equity, if you can tap into it, if you can figure out a way to access it, okay? And doing it wisely so that you're not losing it and still owing that money, because it's not free money, okay? So just a bit of a word of caution there is that whatever equity you borrow or tap into or to take out, you have to pay that back. It's not free money, okay? So now the great thing about debt equity is that when you go to refinance it and you pull that money out, that equity, it is completely tax free. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're like, what? How is pulling out equity refinancing tax free? Okay, reach out to me, talk to your accountant. Okay, because here's the thing. That's one of the great things about real estate, is that you can leverage your properties pull out the equity, which is completely tax-free, and go do something else with it. Now, that's a completely different conversation from capital gains, okay? It's not the same thing, okay? So let me bring up the, let's see, the Excel sheet. Okay, love Excel. Okay, so where is the share? Okay, so the share button is coming up. So on your screen, you should see an Excel sheet. So let's run through this example here. Okay, so here's an example. So let me just make this a little bit bigger. So this is the mortgage calculator sheet that I like to use. There's so many out there. Okay, so I like to use this one. I got this from CMHC, I don't know, at least 10 years ago. Okay, and it's still a decent sheet to use. Okay, so let's just run through this example here. And I'm using, yeah, okay, so I'm using a property value of $1 million. So let's just say I've got a property, it's worth $1 million. So the bank is going to give me an 80% loan to value. So my loan amount here is 800,000. Okay, so this is just an example. So, you know, if you want your hands on this spreadsheet, just go and download it here, or you can reach out to me. I'm happy to hop onto a call with you and run through these numbers and to put your specific numbers in here, okay? Because then you'll see what the effects are. Okay, so here is the mortgage. It's 800,000, and I'm going here and I'm saying, okay, I'm being charged an interest rate of 5%. Okay, I'm doing a 30-year amortization on this, and my first payment is in September. Okay, so let me just go in here and change that to a couple of years in the past so that you could see the effect of this. So here is, yeah, so I just put it back 3 years, okay, just so that you could see the effect of what's going to happen here. So now I'm going to a weekly accelerated payment. So I'm paying about $1,000, $1,667 a week. So about 4,400 a month. Okay. So this is the equity here. Okay. So I've got 800,000 in a mortgage. So at the end of the 5 years, okay, if I kept with this term, I'm going to have paid down $152,000 in just interest, and I would have paid $124,000 in principal, okay, which is so crazy here. Okay, so now what I want to show you here is as I'm paying this mortgage down, I have a principal pay down every single week here of $307. So even though I'm paying $1,000 to the bank, I only am paying down my mortgage by 300,000. Okay, so it's not the bestest, but at least I'm leveraging the bank's money. Okay, so now the great thing about having a readvanceable mortgage is that for every dollar of principal pay down I have, so this $307, this comes back to me as available equity in my HELOC. Okay, and so every single week, because I'm paying weekly here, this 307 is going to build up, and it's going to be slightly more every single week. So in my second week, it's going to be 307.54 cents. So it went up by 30 cents. Okay, not a great thing. But look at what happens in 1 year. So after paying, 52 times, it's now gone up to $322 in terms of principal pay down. After 1 year, I have a total of just over $16,000 sitting available in my HELOC. Okay, so this is equity that is available to me. Okay, now this is what I would consider debt equity because it's sitting there. I haven't done anything with it. Now, it's not bad debt equity because I've qualified for this HELOC. I can just go to the bank or go online and get access to this HELOC money from day one. Okay, so the great thing about this is that I can do the Smith's maneuver with this money now. Okay, so if you don't know what the Smith's maneuver is, Google it, get the book. Okay, it's a great strategy to use. Okay, and so basically by the end of the first year, I'll have $16,000. I can pull this money out, buy stocks, invest more in real estate, invest in a business, and the tax the interest that I pay on this HELOC money, which is usually a little bit more, is completely a tax deductible expense. Okay, so this is something else that you definitely want to go talk to your accountant about, talk to your mortgage agent about it. Make sure you understand how that works. It's money that you can access, but it's not free money. Okay, so now this is important because you're able to tap into the 16,000 because you've already qualified for it. So I don't really consider this as debt equity. The debt equity is the 200,000 that is sitting there that you just can't tap into. Okay. And okay, so now let's just say in 5 years time. Okay, so now we're going to go into the future. We're in 5 years time. Let's say your property here, I'm just going to make this sheet here a little bit bigger here. Let's see. Okay. So here you have a property worth $1 million and it's in a great location. So you're seeing a 10% appreciation. Now, this is just for illustration. I know not every place in Canada gets 10%. Okay. So this is where just making a table like this and then running the numbers with it. And you can adjust this to whatever number you want. Okay. So to make this table is really easy. Okay. You put your starting amount, you type in your appreciation amount, and you just basically times, so B1 times C1, that gives you your appreciation amount that you'll see at the end of the year. So in this case, it's $100,000. So that means at the end of the year, my property is going to be worth 1.1 million. Okay. Then you just put in equals your E1 cell. So that means at the beginning of year 2, you're starting with 1.1. It's going to grow by 10%. So now the value of this is 110,000. Okay. This is the great thing about buying real estate, is that this compounding effect of your equity. Okay. So your equity is building on itself every single year by this 10% of appreciation. So by the end of the second year, your property now is worth 1.21, not just 1.2. Okay. So now, and then so you basically just copy that row 2 down to row 3 and you just carry it over. Okay. So now here's the great thing. By the end of year 5, okay, year 5, your property now is worth 1.61 million dollars. That is the compounding effect of your appreciation on itself. Okay. So at the end of the 5 years, you're not just making, like, your appreciation just hasn't gone up to 1.5. You've gained an extra $100,000. Like, that's huge. Like, that's 20% if you think about it. Okay, right there. Okay. So at the end of your 5 years, now you're at 1.6. Okay, now think about this. Five years ago or 3 years ago, however you want to look at this, you got a mortgage for $800,000. Okay, now your property's worth over 1.6. You do the math on that. So you take your 800,000, divide it by 1.6. Okay, I'm going to change that to a percentage sign and give it 1 decimal places. That's almost 50%. You are now at a 50% loan to value. I'm just going to write, okay, in X number of years. Okay, so in this case, it's 5 years. Okay, you're like, so let that sink in there. You're at 50% loan to value. That means you have 50% of equity sitting in your property. That's dead equity. Okay, that is dead, like, rest in peace, buried, can't access it. That is what dead equity is. Okay, and as an investor, I am like cringing because I'm like, how do I access the other 50? Okay, maybe not even that 50. Okay, so that 50 now, so that difference, so I'm just going to go 1 minus this number. Okay, that's 50%, simple math. Okay, and so that 50% times whatever this value is, okay, that's $810,000. Okay, so the math, however you want to look at it, it's basically this amount. Okay, so $800,000 is sitting in this property that used to be $1 million and now it's worth 1.6. So let's just say I can even tap into, let's just say I can even do 20%. I just want to be able to access 20% of this $800,000. Okay, so that means it is actually $322,000. If I can tap into just that 20%, like, so not even 50, okay? I just want to tap into 20% of that money. That's $320,000. I can take this money, use it for a down payment on another multiplex, on a car wash, on another business venture. I could buy a lot of stocks with $322,000, okay? I'm not going to say, well, I can take a luxury cruise with this, because that is not an asset. Okay, so you don't want to do that. You want to pull this money out and buy an asset, an income generating asset with this money. Just think about what you could do with this. Okay, so now this 322,000, if you can tap into it, okay, which is your debt equity, you go and make the investment. Now this money is making money on top of your money. Okay, like just let the power of that sink in as to what you could do with this and how you could leverage this. Okay, so the thing to keep in mind is, now if you leverage this $322,000, it is, you do have to pay interest on this. It's not free money. Okay, so that money, let's just say you have to pay prime plus 1%. Okay, so prime right now is like 6.25, I think it is, percent plus 1%. Okay, so you're paying 7.25 on that money. Okay, which is fine. So now that interest is $23,000 a year. So this is your interest per year. So you have to make a business investment, a real estate investment, more than $24,000 a year. If you cannot leverage this money and make $24,000 a year, then don't do it. Leave that money there. Just let it be dead. Okay, like seriously. Okay, but if you can go and leverage this money for, let's just say, 15%, okay, then it makes sense. If you're just going to leverage it for 10%, okay, it's not that fantastic of an opportunity. But if you can leverage this at 15 all the way up to like 30 plus, okay, so I'm going to put down 30% plus. Okay, if you know how to do that, then it makes sense for you to tap into this debt equity. And you're like, Huong, where the hell am I going to get 30% plus? Okay, new development, land development, partnerships. There are projects out there that are seeing 30+%. Okay, and even if you just do the S&P 500, you're at 10, 12, 15%. Okay, now before you go and dump 300,000 into your S&P 500, make sure you understand the history of the S&P 500. It doesn't always year over year give you 15%, but the trend is upwards. Okay, so just make sure you understand that before you do it. Okay, so now if you can do this, with a positive can, you can write this $23,000 off as a tax deductible expense, because you're going to be investing it into real estate, a business, or stocks or something that is generating, you have the intent to generate income. Okay. Okay, that is it. So what else can I tell you about debt equity? Okay. Okay, yes, debt equity. So this is one way. So to tap into debt equity, okay, so let's go into how to get your debt equity. Debt equity, dead, okay, dead equity. Okay, so to tap into your debt equity, you can go and get a second private mortgage, assuming that you only have one mortgage right now for this 800,000. Okay, and this first mortgage lender is allowing you to go and get a second mortgage. So we're going to write access. Okay, so the one way is just to get a second mortgage. Okay, So you're going to go do a second mortgage. So this could be a secured line of credit. It could be a second private. It could be however you want to do it. Okay. So there's a couple of ways to do it. One is just from a private lender who's going to say, okay, I'm going to give you, this extra 20%. So that will take you closer. It'll take you back to your 70, 80%. Okay. And then that will get you to, so not necessarily, because they're going to appraise the property at around, let's say 1.6, even 1.5. Okay. So the LTV is going to be slightly different there, because at this point, okay, so let's just calculate that. So your new LTV. Okay. So in year 5, your mortgage amount here. So let's just go down to year 5 here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, so we don't want that one. We want, so this is at the end of year 5. Okay, but let's just say we're going to, so today we want to refinance today. And sorry, let me rephrase that. We're not refinancing with the first lender. What we're doing is we're just getting a second mortgage today on the property. So the property value, so today we're going to go to 2024, August the 12th. So let's just say we're going to go here. Okay. The current mortgage amount right now is $474,000. That's what's telling me. So you see this line right here? That's what it's telling me right now. As of today, I would have been paying my interest and principal down every single week. And so my mortgage balance right now would be $749,000, which tells you I've only paid down about $50,000, not a huge amount, okay? So my principal right now would be, my mortgage payment right now would be $750,000. So I'm just gonna go here, so you'll see that there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap into this $332,000. So I'm gonna update the formula and say equals $322,000. So now with the first and with the second, I'm going to have a new mortgage amount. So I'm going to just go in here and update this. So in my new mortgage is going to be $1.071 million. Okay. So that means my new LTV is the new 1.07 million divided by the 1.6, which is actually, so no, it's not going to be the value of 1.6. It's going to be today. So we started in 2021, 22, 20. Let me see here. Sorry, let me just shut that right down. Okay. So 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. So now we're in year 4. So I'm just going to go and just assume that they're going to take the value of what it is at year 3, because we're not at the end of year 4 yet. Okay. So it's worth, the property now is worth 1.3 million. Okay, you following me? Okay, so that means I take my 1.071 and I divide it by 1.33. Okay, so that takes me back to 81%. Okay, so now if you can find a second private lender that does that for you, that would be fantastic. So let's just say now, because the loan to value is high, let's just say we go to 10% here. So we're just going to go down to 10%. Okay, so that means we're going to tap into $161,000. That's still quite a bit of money to go and leverage to buy new real estate or business or stocks, okay? So here we're going to get a new mortgage now, second private, plus my first. It's going to be worth about $910,000. That takes me up to a loan to value of just under 70%. So this is absolutely usually doable. Okay, absolutely usually doable. Okay, to 70%. So now you take this 161 and you go do your business with it. Okay, so now you've got a new second mortgage on your property. This is one way to access your dead equity. Okay, so it's a second mortgage, and you can do it by a HELOC or a traditional private lender, which works like this. Okay, so now let me expand on the HELOC option, because it does go on as a second mortgage, but it's registered as a HELOC and it's a different structure than a second private mortgage. Okay, so a second private. Okay, so a second private is where they just charge you interest. So usually every single month, or you could set it up as a balloon payment, but usually it's every single month. And let's just say they're charging you, in this case, it's usually a little bit more. Let's just say 12, you know what, I'm gonna go up to 14%, okay? So that means you would have to pay 22.5 thousand, so 500,000 every single year to access this $161,000. Okay. The second way to access this is a HELOC. Do I want to call it a HELOC mortgage? I would actually just call it a HELOC product. Second position. Okay. It is a mortgage. It's a lien on your property. But the way it works is that the calculation is exactly the same. Usually they'll go up to 70, maybe 75%. So what that means is they'll, give you the 10%. So you'll have the $161,000 because they're only going up to your 1.3 million. Okay, depends on what the appraisal comes back at. The way the HELOC product second position lending works is that if you don't use this 161, then you don't pay interest. Okay, but here's the thing though, if you don't use it, then why are you going to go get it? Like you want to use it. Okay, you want to use it for 2 months, 3 months, and then sit on it and not use it. Wait till your next opportunity comes, and it needs to be within 3 to 6 months. Then you access this, then you deploy that 161,000 and you do your opportunity. Okay, the benefit of doing that is because now this 161,000 is sitting there available for you. You don't have to apply, you don't have to maybe not get it. The money's sitting there, so you can take that opportunity. You want to use it for like 2 months, 3 months at the most, and then pay it down. Okay, so the way to do that is you find an opportunity that's going to give you 15 to 30%. You're going to execute it within 2 to 3 months. You take that money out, you pay off the 161, you keep access to it, then you repeat that in another 3 to 6 months. Okay, and you hold on to this HELOC for as long as you can by executing it and getting the returns. Okay, now why would you choose this HELOC over just a direct second private? Is because of that flexibility to pay it off and have access to it for a few years. This second private, you don't have access to it every single year. Like, you have to renew, you have to requalify. This HELOC product, you don't have to requalify every single year. You do have to get like an appraisal update, but as long as your property value holds and as long as you're making your payments when you're supposed to make your payments, this HELOC product will renew every year, every 2 years, up till 4 years, and then I think you have to reapply again. Okay, so those are the two ways to tap into dead equity. Okay, and as an investor, when I realized there was ways to do this, it was like opening up the clouds and having that opportunity. Okay, but you do need to understand the potential damage that this could have on you. Okay, oh, and also, you don't want to go into a second private or a HELOC product for a long term where you have to pay 14+% for a long time. It is not sustainable. So what I mean by a long time is 2+ years. Okay, 1.5 maybe is manageable. 2 years is really pushing the limits there. Okay, you need to be able to leverage and make sure you're getting the 15 to 30% consistently in order to cover the interest that you have to pay on this. Okay, so that is what I want to say about debt equity. And if you access the book collaboration, okay, which is coming out at the end of September, you will definitely read more about debt equity because that's what I'm writing on. Okay. And then there's a bunch of wonderful chapters in there. I'm not going to drop any spoiler alerts except for the one that I just mentioned about my chapter. But maybe next week I'll mention one of the other chapters and at least build some momentum that way. All right. So thank you everybody for watching. We're at our 30 minutes, right on the dot. So if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, any feedback, please email me. I'll put my email in the comment boxes. Please email me. Let me know how I can make this better for you. Happy to have these sessions. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.